Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. So, have you ever spent hours, literally hours, reading a textbook, highlighting basically every other sentence, only to close the book and realize you remember absolutely none of it? Yeah, we've all been there. It is incredibly frustrating. Well, today we're fixing that. We are unlocking the ultimate metacognitive toolkit. It's a brilliant system inspired by Captain Spark, and it's designed to completely transition you from being a passive consumer of information into an active creator of knowledge. Get ready because we're about to hack how you think and learn.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap to mastery for today. We'll kick things off with the blueprint, then move into finding your 20% master key. After that, we'll build expert brain maps, test our knowledge with the Feynman simulation, learn about gap detection, and finally, outline your mission. Presenting this to you right up front actually preloads your cognitive framework so you know exactly where we're heading.
Section 1. The Blueprint.
When we talk about accelerated learning, what we're really talking about is needing a practical, actionable strategy to truly master complex subjects. You see, it's not just about spending more time studying. It's about studying smarter, with a defined architecture that actually works with your brain, not against it. And this brings us to a really crucial distinction: passive consumption versus active creation. The common struggle for most of us is just memorizing facts, right? We read, we reread, and we just kind of let's hope something sticks. But the expert habit? It's actively constructing meaning. Learning is creation, not consumption. When you engage actively, like by asking yourself questions about the material or forming analogies or summarizing the text in your own words, you're actually building brand new neural pathways. You're not just renting space in your short-term memory anymore.
Section 2. The 20% Master Key. So, the crucial point here is building a rock-solid academic base before we attempt to map out anything else. This is the absolute foundation of our learning journey. The 20% core represents the most crucial 20% of ideas or fundamental principles within any subject that provide the vast majority of your insight. Instead of drowning in endless tiny details, you have to prioritize the overarching themes. Think about learning a brand new language, for example. Your 20% core isn't memorizing a massive dictionary of obscure vocabulary words. Not at all. It's the foundational sentence structures and the high-frequency verbs. Master those, and you can actually communicate. Finding this core helps you manage information effectively and constructs that solid foundation we desperately need.
You can think of this kind of like the Pareto principle applied directly to your brain. This chart brilliantly illustrates how just a small 20% slice of fundamental principles naturally unlocks an enormous 80% of the supporting details. Identifying that tiny fraction of core knowledge yields the vast majority of your overall understanding. It's wild, but once you have that 20% locked in, the rest of the information simply falls into place logically. It stops feeling like this random assortment of disconnected facts.
Section 3. Building expert brain maps.
Now that we have our core, we enter the next phase of our journey, which is building the intricate framework to organize that newly found 20%. An expert brain map is a complex mental framework that connects abstract concepts to familiar, real-world anchors and establishes interdisciplinary links. And this moves us light years beyond mere memorization. You're essentially taking new, highly complex ideas and physically attaching them in your mind to things you already know in the real world. So for example, if you're learning computer science, you might anchor the abstract concepts of a computer CPU and RAM to a chef working in a kitchen. The chef is the CPU, rapidly processing the ingredients, while the kitchen countertop is the RAM, holding everything that's currently being worked on. It makes the abstract totally concrete.
The benefits of doing this are just profound. By integrating new info into what you already know, you aren't just memorizing, you're cultivating a robust, flexible comprehension that allows you to think analytically on the fly. You're weaving the information into a web. If you happen to forget one strand, no problem. You've got 5 other connecting strands that lead you right back to the answer. These map-building steps truly empower students to apply their learning in highly sophisticated, flexible ways across multiple disciplines.
But here is the ultimate question, right? How do you know you really understand it? It is so incredibly easy to trick ourselves into thinking we've grasped a concept just because we've read it a few times and, it feels familiar. I want to challenge you right now to think about the difference between merely thinking you understand something and knowing you do with absolute certainty. Let's put that to the ultimate stress test.
Section 4. The Feynman Simulation.
This is Captain Spark's ultimate explainer challenge, completely designed to thoroughly stress test that newly built mental framework of yours. The Feynman simulation is defined as explaining a complex concept in just 3 to 5 sentences, completely without jargon, so an uninformed peer could easily understand it.
Being the teacher is actually the highest form of learning. Why? Well, because it forces you to simplify complex nuances. You cannot hide behind big words here. People often use dense jargon to mask a lack of true understanding. Stripping a concept down to its absolute essence in plain English is the true sign of mastery. To do this properly, I want you to meet Curiosity. Curiosity is a brilliant AI avatar, but she knows absolutely nothing about the complex topic you've just learned. Imagine her as your student. Literally picture this avatar looking at you with a blank, confused stare, just waiting for a simple, crystal-clear explanation. Your sole goal is to make Curiosity understand.
Let's look at an example using the concept of checks and balances in government. Step 1. Checks and balances stop any one part of the government from becoming too powerful. Step 2. It's like 3 friends making a big decision, and each friend can say no to the others. Step 3. This way they have to work together and make fair choices for everyone. And this brilliantly illustrates what a simplified explanation looks like. Notice how entirely free of jargon that is? 3 short sentences, perfectly clear, and a total beginner could grasp the concept immediately.
Section 5. Gap detection. Now, I want to slow down for a second here. Imagine you're doing this simulation. You're explaining your topic, and suddenly, you hesitate. You stumble. You basically hit a wall. That brings us to the final and, honestly, perhaps the most important piece of the blueprint. You have to stop and deliberately ask yourself, where did I get stuck? That exact moment of hesitation is crucial. Maybe your analogy of the 3 friends didn't fully capture the separation of powers. Or maybe you just forgot how a specific branch actually says no. Pay attention, because that hesitation is incredibly valuable. Because, and let this really sink in, your gap isn't a failure. It's a powerful diagnostic tool. That right there is an absolute aha moment. It is not a signal of defeat. Instead, it highlights precisely what needs review. It tells you exactly where you need to revisit your notes, go ask a teacher, or do just a little more targeted research. Think about the profound difference between just-in-time support and rereading the entire chapter. When you use your newly detected gap to target precise learning needs, you save yourself hours of time. You accelerate the learning process far better than blindly rereading a 50-page textbook chapter just hoping to absorb the one paragraph you actually need. You aren't wasting time on what you already know. You're delivering just-in-time support exactly where your brain needs it most. It's a total game changer.
Section 6. Your explainer mission.
All right, it's time to take this cognitive blueprint and apply it in the real world. I am issuing you Captain Spark's direct challenge. Think of this as an exciting experiment for your brain this week. First, pick a challenging concept from your life or your classes. Maybe it's a complex historical event, a tough scientific principle, or a deep literary theme. Once you've got it, practice explaining it out loud. You can talk to our imaginary curiosity, maybe a conversational generative AI avatar, or even just a very patient friend. While you explain, pay close, honest attention to exactly where you get stuck. When you find that stumble, target your gap for deeper learning. Developing these critical thinking and problem-solving skills in a safe environment is exactly how you reach true mastery.
So I leave you with this final, provocative thought. What gap will you discover, and what masterpiece of understanding will you create next? You now have the ultimate tools to transition from a passive consumer to an active creator of knowledge. Take this 20% master key, test your understanding with the Feynman simulation, and go build those expert brain maps. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I absolutely cannot wait to see what you master next.